you will either find pigtails or salt beef or crab in your callaloo. I'm making this one vegetarian because I'm not adding any meats to it.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So now that you have everything in the pot, you take your pepper and you put it on top of your pot. And then you take...
Okay, so we have a question about when you talk about that, there's a question about the canned milk. Why you can't use canned milk. So address that while you're pouring your coconut juice.
So my experience with canned milk, I haven't found one that I like, is that you get a rancid taste. And that messes up the taste of your callaloo. So this is coconut water, but I have found this Real Cocoa brand, and I'm not monetizing this, but they have a coconut milk that I use and I find works well. Yeah. Or you can go to the Asian stores and they have frozen grated coconut, and you can use that. And some people told me that now they have dried coconut selling in Asian markets. Sometimes, you never know, but you could try those and process it and you'll get your coconut milk. Any other questions?
So Lorraine, is that what you sprinkled on top was the coconut milk?
No.
Oh.
This is the coconut milk.
Oh, so the seasoning, that was the
This
like
is all the seasoning.
Trinidadian seasoning?
Okay.
So this is black pepper, some Maggi seasoning, and some salt.
What's in that seasoning? So people can get
Yeah, I'd like to know what's in that seasoning too.
Yeah, is the seasoning like a soul food seasoning?
Yeah, it's an all-purpose powder seasoning.
Okay. I see if I have anything in this camper that might be seasoning like that. Never know.
Y'all gonna ask them if they got Johnny's.
Yeah.
Yep.
What
Johnny's,
store,
okay.
Lorraine, what store do you find the seasoning in here locally in Portland?
Not. You don't find it in Portland.
Jamaican.
I bring these up when I'm home.
Okay.
So are we all going in?
But there are different
Yes, I took the words out of my mouth.
Maggi products that you'll find in Asian stores that would be similar to this.
Okay.
Is it like in the African stores, they have like a Royco or something like that? It's like powdered. Is it like that?
Yeah, let me show you.
Yeah, it looks like you can get something similar in the African stores.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna hook mine up with whatever I got. So, Lorraine, I'm gonna add, since I'm a forager, one of the things that I have is wild chanterelle mushrooms and a certain kind of mushroom called a cauliflower mushroom, which is, like you were saying, regional. People have different things to grow to add, or that are growing around you that you can add to your dishes. And so since Pacific Northwest, regional, and you were saying one of the big additions to the callaloo is a salted meat of sorts. And so I have right here is a Pacific golden chanterelle. And
nice.
This is our state here in Oregon. This is actually our state mushroom. And this Pacific golden chanterelle is a huge meat substitute for vegetarians and vegans because it has a very, very firm, meaty taste. Not like the mushrooms that you see cultivated and grown in the stores. A lot of times those become slimy a lot of the times. And there is a cooking technique to not make mushrooms slimy, which is dry sauteing the water out of them, then adding your seasoning and your oil. That's one way if you're just going to eat them. But you can see here, if I rip this rips in just like chicken breast.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of times we just can make that's like this can be pulled pork if you want to saute it, or this can be anything. And so to this dish, your callaloo recipe, I'll be adding a little variation of chanterelle mushrooms to mine to get it a little bit meatier. And then I will also add my favorite mushroom, which I was gifted only 2 days ago by my favorite picker, which I'm excited to actually show you. I'm really excited to show you. And it looks funky, like it belongs in like the islands. But this right here is called a cauliflower mushroom. Look at that.
Oh,
It is very different, and it grows singularly like this in a huge patch in the forest, and it doesn't have a whole bunch around it. But the main reason why this is my favorite one is because not only does it have a really like floral, not a bad floral, but it has a beautiful smell. But a lot of the times people like to just break off little pieces here and use it like little egg noodles, and it's like using you can make like a pile of noodles with these, and it's no gluten, no anything. It's just pure beautiful wild forage mushrooms. So I'm going to stick a little bit of this in here, hopefully maybe pine needles in here too, because I didn't clean it that well, so I might get a little dirt. But I was excited to cook this your dish and add some of Oregon, the coast specifically, into this dish, because that's what we do, we wild forage.
yeah. I like that you're talking about mushrooms, because the only mushrooms I am familiar with as a child back in Trinidad they always say they are poisoned. So
Yes.
there is that stigma in my head attached to mushrooms from back home.
And
Yeah,
we have a question. We have a question for you, Elan. How are you cleaning the chanterelles?
How am I cleaning the chanterelles?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, so the chanterelle, so there's with all mushrooms, there's a couple of techniques. So this chanterelle here is actually not clean. These are mine. I don't clean everything really intensely. And this is the reason why. If you collect mushrooms or any vegetable and right away you
So
see
that I
all
could
that
put
dirt
this
on
on and then
them,
we could chat.
and what happens is with all this dirt, it kind of like when you get it wild, it kind of needs to preserve itself. So I'll take these, I'll throw them in a paper bag in my refrigerator. Then right when I'm ready to cook with them, right before I'm going to cook with them, you can rinse them with cold water, or if they're dried off a little bit in a bag, you can just take your brush and just naturally just brush the top out of them with a little old toothbrush. Anything. I keep a toothbrush by my sink because there's so many different vegetables or different shapes that the regular just potato brush or anything isn't going to get in those nooks and crannies, especially with wild foods. And so I say keep a soft toothbrush, one of your old toothbrushes, by your sink. It's my favorite tool in the kitchen. But washing your mushrooms right before they are cooked is a okay thing. It's a myth that you're not supposed to wash mushrooms. Just like strawberries, you wouldn't wash strawberries and put them in your refrigerator. They just become, kind of gross. So that's cleaning mushrooms is easier than you think. And if you don't use them all, dehydrate them. Put them in your oven, make butter out of them. So here I am cooking. So I'm just adding some more. Yeah, of course. Thank you.
So the last step to the dish, and we could get this on the fire and then chat some more, is the milk. So when you pour the milk over everything, it takes all that seasoning down into the pot. And I'm going to add a little more.
You're adding more.
I'm adding more coconut milk to the pot because I have a little technique that when I lead, I need to see a certain level because of the amount of spinach that I put in the pot.
Okay.
So if you all stuck to the recipe, you all will be fine. Okay. So I'm moving this over to the stove. And so, let me move on to the. So as you see, my pepper remains whole and at the top. And I normally put it on a medium to high to get it going. And then once it starts boiling, you turn it down to medium, between medium and low, and let it simmer for a while. And then we will check back with this. And if you look at the okra, you'll see that it has some seeds. One of the signs when this is ready is that these seeds will turn pink.
Oh.
So that's another tip.
Cool.
Okay. So let me just put the pot halfway on so it doesn't boil over. And there we go, our pot is going. So we can chat some more.
Okay.
I'm gonna go over to Elan now.
Just adding my coconut milk. I don't know how much.
Is everybody on?
How many
Getting your
cups
stuff
you
in.
estimated did you put in? You know how many? 'Cause I just have to
So I
look.
think the recipe said 2 cups.
Okay.
I probably put 4 cups because it's a
Okay.
big pot I have.
Carrie
Yeah,
says that
I'm
she's
good.
the only one who knows okra didn't turkey.
And the other thing too is that we're making it more soup-like.
Okay.
The traditional Callaloo dish on a Sunday is thicker, but we're making more of a soup, so we want it to be a little more liquidy.
Okay. So pretty much this
Elan,
whole
are you
entire-
putting the mushrooms in now?
Yeah, normally now you have 2 options. Like if I wanted to with a soup, it's okay and I'm fine chopping it. And I like mushrooms, especially like the cauliflower mushrooms. But your other option is to saute the mushrooms separately and add them in, which I'm still contemplating doing. Because it brings out a different flavor. Like anytime you roast a potato before you make it into a soup, it brings out a different depth. And I definitely like to do that with any mushroom soups. Pretty much first thing I do, roast them in the oven or wherever, or on top of a skillet, and then I'll go through, add like my broth and stuff, and then puree that. And then to that I'll also add like more like mushrooms, because you get those different depths of flavors, and within one mushroom you can, you could make it, you could keep cooking it and make it almost like a crispy piece of bacon to where you want to put it on the top like a piece of bacon, or you could put it in raw like I'm doing, and it's more tender, it's more meaty, it's more like it'll have a little more bite and chew to it. Or then or you can stop and keep it. And so I just see here, I had my cauliflower mushroom piece is just a torn off piece that's this big. So, and it'll break apart more obviously as we're moving the veggies and the meat, or the meat, the veggies and the mushrooms. See, I confuse mushrooms with meat now, and I'm not vegan. So when one of the things I was going to get if I didn't come into town so late was I was going to get some crab and put that in here, because I think that would be delicious. In addition, pure Northwest style. Let's see. Let's try
I'm
a
just
little
gonna
this.
add this in. Y'all did a killer job with the lighting. Just saying. Lorraine, you're looking good. You're looking real good. Nice job, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Make sure this is. Ooh. Ooh, look at me accidentally turning off my stove. I really do feel like I I need to add that in there.
Was the
Elan,
ginger
Yes.
to go in?
could you talk a little bit more about how you got into foraging?
So,
Carrie has a question.
how I got into foraging specifically, there's different levels of foraging. There is urban foraging within like your own neighborhoods, where you're walking around and collecting apples off of the tree. When you're doing the dashing, when you're doing that in your backyard, that your neighbor's backyard, there's that aspect of foraging. And I was very much heavily into that as a child, and grabbing honeysuckles. When I found there's honeysuckles, I was eating every honeysuckle off every floral bush that I walked by and sucking those. And how I got more so into the wild foraging was that I loved hiking, and I'm a hiker, and I love the outdoors and outdoor recreation. And so and dogs is one huge thing, because I'm a dog trainer, and dog sports have like led me into the outdoors. And so for me to be able to be out in the outdoors, be able to be with my dogs, be able to forage food for me to eat, or for me, which became in the future for me to sell, the romantic idea of like creating something out of that actually motivated me to start learning more, because I knew, hey, if I learn more, I can share this more with people. And so what I did was I joined there's mushroom societies in Portland, called Oregon Mycological Society. Any region has a mushroom society or meetup group for people who love or want to learn more about mushrooms, or already love mushrooms. And it'll be called, when I say mycology, that's like mushrooms. So if you hear me using the word mycology a lot, it's mushrooms, or the study of, or and so within every region there's mycology groups. And for me, I was involved with the Oregon Mycological Society for like maybe a little bit of time. But one of the things that I had a really hard time with was that within the foraging communities, there's a kind of like, how do I put it? There's people who are scholars, and sometimes it's really hard when you're not a scholar to be around scholars and learn. So I started going back to my friends who are Hispanic who are picking, my friends who are Hmong who are native, and started learning from them and going out on forays with them, because I learned better that way, not using a bunch of Latin terms and stuff and hard names, because mushrooms are very difficult to learn because there's so many. But once you learn your top like 5-6 wild edibles, it opens up a doorway. And then I also joined a truffle society, North American Truffle Society, because particularly truffles were my thing, because one of the things that happens is that dogs can sniff truffles from under the ground. So in Europe, a lot of times people are talking about truffle pigs, because in the past, pigs have a natural affinity for truffles, and the whole pig thing in Europe and Italy, France, that's been definitely romanticized with like their food culture. But people haven't been using pigs for like a long time. Everybody's been using dogs. And the reason why we use dogs is because you can train a dog to find a sit of the truffle underneath the ground. And dogs will only find truffles that are at their highest like fruiting. And so with that being said, people can also dig up truffles. So when you are digging up truffles, you're just digging them up and smelling them. And so some may be good, some might be like not ripe. But when you're using a dog, they're only smelling the ripest, the best of the peak of the fruit. And so, and they also will only, and when they'll hit those spots, instead of raking, you'll be able to reuse that spot over and over again throughout the season, instead of just raking everything that's immature. And so with the truffle hunting, that's where I really got involved with mushrooms. I really got known for dog training and involved in the food scene. And with truffles are very expensive. But with my pricing, my connection with food, I wanted to like explain that truffles are just no different than a mushroom. And that is like back to my food justice things, not making food all foo-foo-y and when it's just something that we're literally standing on all the time. And so my mushroom journey is continuing and continuing, but there's definitely different spots of it, and definitely the mushroom spot. So I saw a question at the bottom. I missed it. Is there somebody who can go?
Someone was asking
Flash?
if you lead any foraging groups.
If I lead any foraging groups, so that's a great question. I do lead foraging groups. I lead foraging groups dependent on weather, because one of the biggest things that we are fighting with, because we are both using ingredients that are wild harvested. So I'm sure if it's like super cold for some reason, or you get a cold front, you're not going to be able to pick as much of the spinach and, our green stuff. So that might have effect into your normal crop. Maybe you have to go to another neighbor's to get more. So that happens a lot when we are doing tours. And so I do tours. The best way to contact me would be to go to my Facebook page, Temptress Truffles, or go through Instagram. And that way, let me know that you're interested, because I do have a page of people interested in just the mushroom hunts. And so that way, when I do have the availability and the conditions are looking like, hey, oh my gosh, I want to take some people out, because right now there's enough rain, it's not freezing cold, the ideal seasons are out, then I want you to be on that list so you don't miss out, because I do truffle hunting tours, and then I do mushroom hunting tours in the fall time. And so, and in springtime, I might do a little bit of there's other things to forage. So, but yes, the answer is yes. And then there's many other people in the Portland metro area who also lead these events too. They're probably not, they probably don't look like me. I know they don't look like me. And so it's nice if you want to reach out to me first. And then if you, for some reason, you really want to go, and put you in the directions of my other colleagues who I also want to support.
And I think that we've put the link to your site in the chat, so everyone who is interested in.
Erica just signed up.
Yeah, sign up. And that was one of the questions that I was going to ask you. How, as you said, you had to reach out to certain communities to get involved in these activities. How comfortable, at what point or how did you get comfortable doing your foraging and confident in like the type of mushrooms that you harvest and all those kinds of things? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that actually goes back to something when you were talking about how in Jamaica and everywhere in the islands, a lot of the mushrooms that you encounter is like that whole thing is a big deal. You know, that fear of mushrooms is put into all of us, unfortunately. It's been put in all of us, and that's because there are mushrooms that you can pick that will kill you flat dead. But what I always say is when somebody takes you out and they show you this is a chanterelle, and then they show you this kind of looks like a chanterelle, but it's not a chanterelle, and you sit there and you just single focus on that one edible. And just like the first time I'm taking people out, we're picking chanterelles. I mean, there might be other common wild edibles within it, but I just picked chanterelles until I was confident. And I had somebody looking in my baskets for me and saying, oh, Elan, gosh, I see how you confuse that, but this is how you can identify it. And there are, I feel confident, like the cauliflower mushroom. That's a very identifiable mushroom. There's none out there that are poisonous that look like that mushroom. And right. So I always say, know your edibles, but also know your poisons. So if you are picking an edible that has a lookalike, you know that just as good as when you're picking the ones you're edible, because a lot of times they're growing next to each other. Right. And then like with the whole, and there's still, I always say have a healthy fear, because a lot of people who are getting sick off of mushrooms, it's maybe they're a little too confident and they don't have the skills, or they're not cooking their mushrooms long enough. mushrooms contain something called chitin, which is related to shellfish, and you need to break that down. And so cooking for a minimum of 5 minutes to 10, I say 10 minutes, will break that down and make it so it's easier to process. There's lots of foods out there that we have to process or we're going to get reactions. You can't just eat
Basics, right?
acorns, and you know, you got to soak things and process things that we like. And so with mushrooms, there are some that you can eat raw, eat them in smaller amounts, but breaking them down is one thing. But we call the fear of mushrooms a mycophobia, and
I have a question.
it's out there. What's the other question?
Sorry, a perspective on ethical foraging.
Ethical
my
foraging.
My perspective on ethical foraging, my perspective is that when you forage, no matter where you're foraging, you need to go into the attitude of, this is not my land. For most people, I would say that'd be the beginning of.
Can I just say something as I'm seeing you stirring? Don't stir the callaloo.
Okay. Thank you. See, and that's good. I'm glad that you can see me, because I bet you everybody else is out there stirring their stuff too. That looks so good.
It's a thing. Just leave it. Let it
Just leave it.
bubble.
Let it do its thing. Let it do its thing. I like doing that. Can we turn it down? Because you said make it extra low.
Turn it down once it starts bubbling.
Boiling. Okay, there we go. We're here. We're here. So ethical foraging.
You can cover it.
I can cover it. Okay.
Once you turn it down, just cover it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
See? Yeah. Perfect. So with ethical foraging, number one, go into the situation, go into anywhere you're going to, like, this is not my land. When you're foraging, going with attitude that you may not find anything at all, because it's a forage, it's not like a garden. And
right.
When you're picking mushrooms, there's a debate of, do you pull it out the ground altogether and leave the root, the mycelium, or do you cut it from the top? That's debatable. And I'm a cutter. I cut almost every type of mushroom except for matsutake, which is a whole different type of mushroom. And then there's some other medicinal mushrooms that I also may not cut, because I want to use the bottom for something else to plant some more of the mycelium somewhere else. But with ethical foraging, respect the land. There are different jurisdictions of forests, and that's one forest you might go to might be a state forest. One might be a county forest. There's different jurisdictions, and within those, they all have different rules. You need to find out on those rules, because those rules are there not because they want to stop you from foraging. It's because it's there for land protection. And when you go to the Mount Hood National Forest and sign up for a free permit, they give you a giant map, a beautiful map. It shows you all the areas that you can pick. You stay in those areas. That's part of the ethical picking. Stay in those areas. They have those areas marked for a reason, and that's because if we didn't regulate, people would be everywhere, just picking and tromping through and destroying. That's part of, like, with land rotation, when we're doing pastures and stuff. You're not going to sit there and forage off the same piece constantly with a million people. You're not going to do that. So you're going to kind of rotate through, and that's we've done as a society. We've done that for years, and so obviously that's a big thing with ethical picking. Other big thing with ethical picking is your basket. Make sure your basket has holes in it. Make sure if you have a bag, I'm looking right now in my unit to see if I could show you guys what I'm talking about. If you have a bag, have a mesh bag, because what happens is spores will come out. So you're picking the mushrooms, and there is a release of spores still happening, especially when we are picking mushrooms. They're at their prime time of releasing spores. And so by us picking, we do stop a little bit of that, because we're not letting them fully, sometimes a lot of them haven't fully spored up and released and died into the ground. So have a basket that has holes in it, or a mesh sack. That'll definitely help when you're walking and going through the woods. Release some of that along your way. Let that distribution happen. there's so many. I could go off ethical picking for a long time, and some people hate the fact that I wild harvest altogether. I've gotten in debates about it, but I just say, just be conscious, just respect the woods. Know that this is not your land. It's most of these are stolen lands, and always give attendance and knowledge to that. And I say that's what you need to do while picking ethically. And
what other things do you forage for other than mushrooms?
So the other things that I
And
forage for besides,
probably how is it tied to Native history about the foods that we forage and what part it plays in the Native community?
Yeah. Well, I would say this is a good question. To have those two questions are together. So with other items that I forage, so I do wild greens. So I'll do miner's lettuce. We can do fiddlehead ferns, which are a fern that has still furled into itself, and it looks like a little snail, and we take the casing off. We do nettles. We forage wild berries. Seaweed. I have what I actually added into here was seaweed salt that was wild forage.
Nice.
So and that's another regional thing. So there's that. And then the big part of the berries is huckleberries. Huckleberries is, it's connected to indigenous lands, indigenous usage. There are so many wild items that are directly connected to our indigenous people and our lands, and huckleberries is a big part of it. We have huge thousands of acres that are in Washington that are reserved only for indigenous native tribes to harvest on, because it's a big, huge of culture. Like, you're using those berries in the past to get through your years, to provide stuff for you to actually live, also as a trade. And so some of these areas, I want to say the Sawtooth Mountains in alali berries, huckleberries, same thing. Somebody mentioned that there's another name for them too. But there's different varieties of huckleberries, I should say, too, within different regions. There's many. But with the berries, they are the only ones during certain times of year in they're called Sawtooth in Washington. Those areas are very fruitful. They keep them well maintained. They do burn techniques where you're burning to open up and allow more berry growth to happen, opening up areas. If you go online, you could just geek out forever on that connection. Salal is a big one. Bear grass. These are tons of things that are traded, I would say, put on a commercial market now that was obviously used just for indigenous properties. But like, I'm trying to think, there's so many. I could go to town on just naming all the things, because most of the things that we have now everything that we're doing we took it necessarily, but we learned from people who use the land and shaped the land for years. Our medicines, everything we peeped somebody else out and then used it in our lives. And so that definitely the huckleberries is a big one, but there's others, pine cones. I could go to town, resins, so many.
Right.
And I saw a
Thank
question
you.
about mushroom knives too. Mushroom knives, briefly, how to use a mushroom knife. It doesn't matter. Any knife will do. I use a Dollar Tree steak knife half the time because I like that it's a longer fixed blade, and that when I'm picking some mushrooms are halfway underneath the ground. I only see a tiny little corner of it, and I unearth it, and I can get down there and go to the stem and scoop it out. I do have a mushroom knife with a brush on the end of it. Those are nice to have. They have a curved blade. A common brand is called an open nail knife, and it's like a French maker, I think. And I have one in my basket over here. I should probably look around to see if it's easy to access for you guys. It may not be, but like I said, the toothbrush or a knife with a brush is nice because you can get rid of some of the bugs when you're out in the woods. And then if you want it to be a fixed blade, when you're hiking, make sure that fixed blade is in a sheath so you don't be like me and like fall down everywhere constantly and cut yourself. And the open nail knife is a swinging blade that comes in and out. I forget the term, but it's a folding knife. And so when you use that knife, make sure to keep that one clean, because when you put that back into a sheath or whatever, any knife, you want to resist the rust. And with a brush, boar bristle brushes are the softest and nicest boar bristle to use on the mushrooms without like tearing the mushroom apart while you're using it. Some of these knives have little measuring little rulers on them, which is nice for if you have a book and it's saying, hey, is this, you want to use it for an ID or just to take measurements. So any mushroom knife, open nail, there are knife manufacturers that are, you know, foragers and people who do have a forge who make beautiful knives. If you want something custom, I would say Oaks Bottom Forge in Portland, Oregon. I personally made this knife here. It's beautiful. They also have mushroom knives that you can get made. This is special to me, and I have a mushroom knife that's special as well as ebony wood. So Oaks Bottom Forge, if you guys want a good mushroom knife in the Portland area, that's local.
Any other questions in there?
Yeah.
No questions, Ed. How's the food coming?
So by now your callaloo should be at a rolling boil. You want to just, let me take this off. You getting that, Noah? So you see your peppers at the top. I'm just pushing it down, not turning it.
Okay.
So at this point, you could probably try and taste it to see if it has enough salt or if it needs a little more zhuzhing up. That actually tastes good. Yum, yum. I'm just going to put a little more salt, a pinch. So this is what it looks like as
It's so
coming
good.
together. Yeah, you getting that?
I got it.
Yes.
I had some saffron since I work at a farmer's market. I have all these local stuff, so I put a couple of some saffron in here too. And it's really great.
So in essence, that's what callaloo is. Callaloo is a callaloo. You're putting stuff in, and everybody has their own secret way of doing it. You know, as I said, some people put crab, some people put pigtails, some people put salted beef, and then they add whatever different spices their family have used. Or like me, I am always trying new stuff and being innovative about it, especially since I have to substitute so much ingredients. So yeah. So if we look, you'll see some of the okra probably starting to look slightly pinkish, but they still need a little more cooking as it bubbles down.
Lorraine, there's a comment in the
Want
chat
to show the pot? Yes.
that says, this reminds me of a Filipino dish called laing, which is made with dried taro leaves, coconut milk, and bird's eye chili with meat, pork and or shrimp. Ooh.
Oh, you put your pepper in. I forgot to put my pepper in. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Stick
That's
that
good.
sucker in.
Yeah.
Did not cut that right.
So the reason that you want to keep sight of your pepper is because on the final step, before you do the final step, you want to take your pepper out. Otherwise, you'll end up with a spicy callaloo. Yeah.
It doesn't disappear on me.
So any questions? So let me talk a little bit about Sunday lunch, which is when most households in Trinidad would normally make callaloo. So you'll have like rice, callaloo, some type of protein, either stewed chicken, which I mean, how do I describe it? It's like a brown chicken. I've heard people describe it, or baked chicken, or barbecue chicken. And then we do a macaroni pie, which people call mac and cheese, but it's different and better.
I want to know about that. That sounds good.
Potato salad, Trini style, and a green salad. Some people also do like a red beans. So it's a whole production for a Sunday lunch. You know, people do it. So that's why Sunday lunch is a big thing in Trinidad, which Callaloo is a part of it. Yeah, yeah. Any questions?
I have a question. How did you get with Resolutions Northwest?
Say it again.
How did you get with Resolutions Northwest?
Oh, how did I get with? How did we meet?
Yeah. Repeat the question.
The first kiss and all of. So how did I get with Resolution Northwest? My first encounter with Resolution Northwest, I think, was a training that my employer sent me on, and I met Terry, and a few other staff members at that time. And then the second encounter was when Resolution Northwest came into my organization and did a session and really threw down the gauntlet and held my employer accountable. And I was like, yeah, this is an organization I like. They were holding the organization accountable, and that really spoke to me. And then I did a few other trainings, facilitations, and then I was recruited to be on the board. And I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to serve an organization that that I felt was doing the work that needs to happen, and to be part of what changes that needs to happen, and continue to move the agenda forward. And sometimes being a part of an organization helps you drive that more than being on the outside. So yeah, so I that's my connection with Resolution Northwest.
Kelly says, I remember you from reclaiming my time.
Say it again.
Kelly says, I remember you from reclaiming my time.
Reclaiming my time. Yep. Yes. Yes.
Erica says, would you put callaloo over the rice? Do you put callaloo over rice?
Oh yeah, that's why. So my favorite with callaloo is over white rice.
Okay.
But on a Sunday, people do like a Spanish rice, or they do fried rice. There are many variations of rices that they do on a Sunday, but my favorite is callaloo white rice. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Lorraine, it's Audrey. Don't forget Palau.
Oh, pilau, which is similar to peas, rice and peas, but different. That's one of my Caribbean queens speaking up there. Shout out to Guyana. Any other? Let me just look at this pot.
Look at our pots.
How are we doing on time? Okay, so can you see this now? Okay, let me see if I could pull it up in this spoon.
Put you on.
Let's see if I have white rice.
Get your white rice in.
Have enough stuff there.
Got white rice.
So I'm just showing you, see how this
Hold on a
seeds.
second. Hold on a second.
Oh,
Okay, Jay, I'm good.
you seeing how the seeds kind of turning a little pinkish? It's not going to be bright pink. But that's what we're talking about. And it's going to start to come out and separate. So like here, you see how it's breaking up?
Yeah.
So you know how that you're getting close. So you see that seed, it doesn't look as white. So it's going to get a nice little pinkish. There we go.
Okay.
So this is probably going to be like about 10 more minutes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the okras cook. Oh, it's almost there. Let's give it 10 more minutes.
Okay.
Ask everybody to show us their food.
Yeah, let's see some pots.
I'm gonna spotlight
I see my
Show
pot.
us your food,
Okay.
Erica. Tell Erica to show us her food. There we go. Erica's showing us her food.
Jay, are you-
Yeah, bubbling.
I'm moving.
You going back?
Let's see it.
Okay.
Oh, should I stay?
Did you pick up the
Oh, no,
food?
no, I'll bring it over here and blend it.
Who
Yeah,
else? Show
just
us
10
your
more
food.
minutes.
Jennifer, show us your food.
Jennifer, show the food.
Jennifer is showing us her food.
It's gonna look delicious.
Wait, what happened?
We lost your camera.
You lost your
Jennifer.
camera, Jennifer. Christina, show us your. Okay, there's Jennifer.
You're back.
Ooh.
Mm.
Turn up that fire a little bit.
Turn up that fire a little bit.
Turn it up.
Yeah.
More fire.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Mm.
Show us your food, Christina.
How is it smelling? How is your house smelling?
Yeah, how's your house smelling? My house is Ooh.
Turn it up, Christina.
Turn up the heat. Who else? Amy, show us your food.
Yep, turn it up.
Man.
Just, yeah.
David, you want to show us your food?
Can you see that, Lorraine?
Let me see.
Ooh. Oh, look at that. Wait, we got one here.
I can see you.
Yes, that's how it's supposed to be bubbling.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. We're all like, let's go turn our stuff up now.
Everybody's okay. There's one that needs to be bubbling more, right?
I feel like, yeah, maybe a tiny bit. I need to turn
David,
just a
you
tiny-
need to turn that up.
Okay.
Nice.
Who else?
There we
Hey, David.
Oh.
Hi.
It's Audrey again. I have a question for Elan.
Okay.
I am not usually a Facebook follower. So how can I get your information outside of your Facebook link
Okay.
about foraging?
Of course.
Because there's not too many people like you that are doing that, and I would love to join your group.
Hi,
Yeah, I
Lucy.
love that. I would say have a pen down. My email address to contact me would be info at 10. Okay,
hold up. I'm in
okay,
my car.
yeah.
I'm listening.
Okay, listen, and I'm pretty sure it's on. If you, we'll put it
Okay.
up. I'm sure. But
ahead.
it's easy to
Elan.
remember. It's
Mm.
info at temptresswildedibles.com. So temptresswildedibles.com. Info at temptresswildedibles.com.
Perfect.
There you go. And
Thank
it's
you so
temptress
much.
with 2 E's. It's perfectly spelled. Yes. S's.
Temptress is 2 E's?
Couples. Yeah. Or not 2 E's, 2 S's. Sorry.
Okay, good. I was trying to remember how to spell that. I was like, temptress. I haven't seen that word in a
I
while.
know.
Nice.
I know.
And it's
Girl.
edibles.com.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Wildedibles.com.
Yeah, I do sell my forage foods. I sell my forage foods. Majority of my sales have been through farmers market. I right now I'm not on a regular farmers market, but I do King Farmers Market on 7th and Alberta Street, April through the last weekend or the weekend before November or Thanksgiving. So I just got done with my big season at that market, and that's Sundays from 10 to 2. One of my favorite markets. I highly recommend you guys going. Also, I used to do Beaverton Farmers Market, Portland State Farmers Market. I don't do those as much on a regular, but I do drop-ins there because I used to do so many farmers market. It became like crazy. But also info at Temptress Wild Edibles. I am now, since COVID has happened, I've kind of changed my business structure. I've expanded it a lot more. And so now I am doing restaurant deliveries and deliveries in the Portland metro area, being if you live in Beaverton or Vancouver or even Camas, that I will deliver mushrooms if you have a minimum of a $20 order. And so I've been doing that every 2 weeks, mostly on a Thursday, unless something brings me out of town. So email me or hit me up and let me know if you want to be on that list, so I can let you know what I have available that week. It is not a regular mail-in. I will never have a mailing subscription because some years I might not have products during October because it might decide to be 90-degree October, and I just don't have my wild foods that I have. But I also make a truffle salted caramel sauce, black truffle butter, truffle salts. Those are like my other huge selling products, and have dried mushrooms year round as well. Sometimes for frozen food. So whatever you want, I can. That's wild forage. I can pretty much. I have already an inventory, or I can acquire. And somebody said something about King Market. Yeah, King Market on 7th Alberta, Portland States, downtown in the park blocks. I think that's, yeah. And I do pop-up shops too.
Do you post to your Facebook page when you're going to be at the market?
When I'm going to be at the market, during King Market, during that season, I'm always there. Except for the months of July and August. And that's because our mushroom season is not great July and August because it's the hot weather, and mushrooms rely on a cold. Most our mushrooms that we're eating, majority rely on a colder temperature snap to happen, and also lots of rain. And so I'm getting better about posting more often on Facebook. And when I do drop into markets that I'm not a regular person, I do look at my stories. My stories I'm extremely active on, and I usually do Instagram to Facebook posting. So make sure my temperature is high enough now. Oh, that's too high. Down. There we go.
Coming to the end, I just add a pat of butter.
Oh,
like about this.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna do coconut butter.
Yeah, you could use whichever butter, and you just drop that in. And let it melt. And let me just show. You can see there now.
A little bit more.
You see how the seeds look pinkish? The okra as we say.
Okra.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
So what's that?
house smell like. Christina smells amazing.
You text me? So one of the first things you do is you take your pepper out.
Is everybody ready?
We're taking it off the heat right now. It's been 10 minutes.
Y'all taking it off? Are we taking it off the heat now?
Does it look like,
Does everyone's look like this?
does your okra, I'm trying to find, it looks pinkish.
Some folks are, is it pink yet?
I'm trying to get a good shot.
Mm,
Your
I
okra
think-
seeds should look a little bit pinkish.
yeah.
Does it?
Yes. Mine looks
If not,
like
you could
it.
leave it on.
Okay.
But I just am being respectful of time so that you all would know the final step. So take your pepper out before you do this next step. So once you do this, normally in Trinidad, there are like swizzle stick. We call it a swizzle stick. So there are two kinds of swizzle stick, and I was supposed to get one borrowed from my friend, but she forgot. So let me see if I could Google it. There we go. Oh, they have both. Can you, should I show it here?
You can show it so that-
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Spotlight that. 1 second.
So that's one type. And that's the other type. And there's a third type that they make from the tree. But I'm
What
not
type
seeing
of
it here. Oh, here it is. It's not coming up. Anyhow, normally you will take the swizzle stick and you will swizzle the callaloo. But I don't have one of those.
Maybe I can do it with a whisk. Swizzle it.
No, the whisk wouldn't.
No?
I don't know. I don't know if the whisk will do it well. And then too, because we use spinach, the spinach leaf is a lot more dense than the callaloo bush
Okay.
or dashing bush. So the best thing to do is to use either a blender or food processor. I normally use a blender, but I'll use the food processor. And you have to be careful because it's a hot dish going into a fruit processor or a blender. So here we go. Remember to take your pepper out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll be in trouble.
Susan Nemeth said that she recalls Pure Love Seeds having taro leaves.
Say again?
Pure Love Seeds for taro leaves. Someplace to check for taro leaves. They may have it there. Susan, is that a local shop? Is that in Portland?
Need this.
It's a mail order.
Okay.
And I recall they have different farms that specialize in, you know, like specialty regional foods and seeds. And I'm doing this by memory. I'm not sure if they have that, but I think that it would be worth looking into.
So at this point, you pulse because you don't want it to over process. You're looking for a certain texture.
So you said you pulse because you don't want it to over process?
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
texture?
So you see how it's getting, you're seeing like the leaves starting to, yeah, that's what you're looking for.
Okay. I'm gonna do mine in batches, but I think it's like
Right.
because I have a little tiny little blender. Little smoothie blender. Okay, yeah.
Let me move this over.
I just want mainly the spinach leaves is the main thing that we want to make sure is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because they're fibery. Okay. I think I got most of my spinach leaves. Oops, no, I didn't. Oh.
Are we under? Mm.
Okay.
So that's what you're looking for.
Okay. Let me get some more broth in here. What is going on? Sorry, I got a big RV. Whoa.
Wow.
Now you want me to?
So this is what the finished product looks like.
Okay.
Good.
Oh, okay.
And that's your callaloo soup or callaloo. So you can eat it like this, or you can, as I said, put it over rice or provision. What's provision? So that's like boiled cassava or what's cassava? You all call it yaka. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Or taro, the taro root, or the mini taros, which we call edos, or yams, potatoes, or whatever. You could do it like that. But this is what Trinidad callaloo looks like.
Someone
What
said,
do you
would
want?
tearing the spinach into smaller pieces help resolve its
Oh,
fibrous
okay.
density?
What's that?
Would tearing or cutting the spinach into smaller pieces help resolve the fibrous density?
Yes, you can cut it up. And that was something I was supposed to mention at the beginning. You could slice your spinach leaf because normally that's what we do with the dashing bush. Because it's a bigger leaf, you roll it up and you slice it and you put it in the pot. So yes, that's a good thing to do.
that.
And of course you could break your pepper depending on how spicy you want it.
Oh, I just did. That's exactly what I did. I added a little bit of that cut pepper. I cut the pepper a little bit and blended it and put that in there. It's really good now.
Karen says, I normally use a hand blender, pulsing a few times.
Yes, a hand blender
Yeah.
is also.
Well, that's a spicy pepper. Careful, people.
Christina says, do we take out the thyme before blending?
Nah, if you could find it.
I have your hands up. Yes. I could reach on your knees.
Yay, thank you. We're eating, we're tasting it, by the way.
Some people comment about the look and the texture,
Yeah.
but that's their loss.
Arca, how you doing? David, how's your callaloo coming? Ask Erica and David how this is looking.
How's it tasting?
It's so good.
Lorraine, I have a question. I might have missed this. If you're putting
What?
in the meat, do you put that in the beginning or when do you put that in?
Yes, you put it in at the beginning.
At the beginning, okay.
Oh, sorry. And you make sure you take it out along with the pepper before
Okay.
you blend it.
Okay.
Got it.
Right. So you have to keep track of the meat or the crab and the pepper when you're blending.
Okay. I add a little something. I add a little Oregon white truffle oil to mine.
Mm-hmm.
Arca says, I would love this with fufu or something like that. What's fufu?
This
Erica?
is so good.
It's not noise. Is it not your thing? Or you can't eat and work?
I can't even see my pot.
April says, well done, Callaloo. It was a rare recipe. Thank you. I grew up in Jamaica version in Washington, D.C.
Say it again.
Gabriel said he grew up with the Jamaican version in Washington, D.C. and Callaloo is a rare recipe. So thank you.
Yes. And it's a different Callaloo bush that they use. Yeah.
Okay.
Erica, what is fufu?
Ah,
I think we lost her.
that's like there's another thing that we also eat with Callaloo. Yes, it's cuckoo. So it's made with cornmeal and coconut milk, I think, and okra. And it rolls, and you cook it and it roll it into a ball, and then you slice it. So it's similar to an African fufu, I think they call it, but we call it cuckoo back in the islands. And you normally Callaloo, cuckoo, and fish. Yeah.
So ask Erica what fufu is. What's the difference?
Erica, what did you say about what? Fufu or cuckoo?
I know African foods better than Caribbean foods, which is one reason why I'm excited about this class is learning them. But there's a lot of similarities, you know.
Yep.
So in West Africa, there's fufu, which is made out of cassava flour, and then it becomes sort of like a paste. And then East Africa, there's ugali, which is kind of like fufu and kind of like grits and Black culture, like because it's made from corn flour.
Cornmeal, right?
Cornmeal, yeah, but then it's cooked more than a grits is, so that you can like make it into balls and dip it into things like this with your hand.
Yeah.
But the closest I've gotten to the right cornmeal in the US is to combine the yellow masa and the white masa from the Latino stores together to get kind of the texture, and then you can do it.
I'm going to my cupboard. Where is it?
Yeah, it's delicious.
I'm waiting for my rice so I can have the callaloo with
I
it.
know. I'm trying to. Same thing. I have my rice ready, but my water's outside. I pulled out my cabinet. I'm like, oh, my rice pot, please.
Yes, I was indecisive as to whether I should make the Spanish rice or the white rice, so I just threw the white rice in.
Yeah, she said white rice.
Yeah.
White rice, yeah, I like it with white rice.
Yeah.
I was looking for the cornmeal that we use back home, but I'm not seeing it. So
Cornmeal?
we
I have
use a cornmeal brand called Pomasa.
Mhm.
cornmeal.
And we also use that to make pasta. That's a whole other conversation. But that's the cornmeal that we use back home to make our cuckoo, which sounds so close to fufu.
Yeah. I want to hear the answer to Gabriel's question. Is there a blend of African and Indian influences? Is there a blend of African and Indian influences on the Trinidad cuisine?
So there's a blend of many cuisines in Trinidad. So there's the African influence, then is the East Indian influence, there's Chinese influence, there is Lebanese and Syrian influence, there is
Sound cut out.
Oh, she went into mute.
am I
Here
on
now.
mute?
Right over there.
Now you are. You're fine.
No,
now.
you're good now.
Oh, okay. So there is the African, Indian, which are the two biggest populations in the island. Chinese, Syrian, Lebanese. Then there is the South American influence. And I forgot one I mentioned just now. So Trinidad is a whole mix of cultures and foods and the evolutions of those foods. So there's remnants from the African culture. There's this strong influence of the Indian culture, Lebanese, Syrian, Chinese culture. So on a Sunday or any day of the week in Trinidad, you will find a household cooking any one of those meals. They'll cook Indian curry, roti, whatever. They'll cook some food that was influenced by African culture. They'll cook Chinese food. They'll cook some version of Lebanese food. And then there is the Spanish, the South American influence with pastels and other things that we make, which is similar to an arepa, all this kind of thing. So, and of course, plantains, ground provision. Don't trust me. Now, this is just my remembrance. Don't quote me as the
We're listening.
as the main person for these things. But really, yeah. So Trinidad is lots of foods, and they always open to trying new foods, new dishes, and it becomes part of our culture because we always put a Trini spin on every dish that we try or make, etc. Are we getting there? Are you allergic to something? Oh, okay. Scala, Jason, good. And it doesn't have my favorite thing, which is salted pigtails.
Mm.
I need to just.
Salted pigtails.
Mm-hmm.
Where can you buy the salted pigtails?
Yeah.
You don't get it here.
You don't?
That's what I'm wondering.
No.
That's what my brain was racking through. What would be your best, what is the substitution that you would use here in the US that's at the butcher stores? Besides ham hock, because that's typical.
That's probably the closest thing.
Okay.
But I normally would do the crab. or
See?
lobster tail. Yeah,
That's what I was gonna do.
yeah, yeah. Or even shrimp is something that you could use too.
Someone just asked if you can use pig's feet or ears instead.
So I can find pigtails or pig feet, so pig feet or that kind of stuff. But it's the salted part of it that you don't find.
Okay.
So it's the salt from the salted tails or beef or whatever that adds to the flavor. But caution, you boil it before to take out some of the salt. So you boil if you're doing the ham hocks, not so much, or like a salted turkey or something, leg or something, you could chip it up and put it in there. But like the salted pigtails or salted beef or something, you'll boil it first and then you will add it at the beginning of your yeah. Boy, this pepper give off some heat.
It really did. If this is the same one, because I just touched my tongue and I was like, woof.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hold on.
What spices are typically used in Trinidadian food?
Everything.
It says I don't have spice mix, so use turmeric, cumin, and cinnamon sticks. Jennifer.
I have it on here.
Let me see what this have.
Hi.
So I think the main seasonings we use in Trinidad, of course, is lots of garlic, lots of onion, thyme, cilantro or bandania, which you normally get in the Asian store. I get it in the Asian store. Peppers, hot peppers, onion, garlic, ginger.
Yeah.
Those are the main things I use. And then of course, black pepper. Cumin, of course, when you're making Indian dishes. But as I said, it's kind of like free flowing. So you go with a taste that you're looking for, you add or you take away as you go along. But those are the main things. Yeah. And if any other Caribbean people in the chat there could drop some other things that I'm forgetting right now. Of course, we use coconut milk.
Can you use pig feet or ears instead of, I'm thinking the meat, Kelly, right?
What's that?
Can you use pig feet or pig ears?
If it's salted.
If it's salted.
Yeah.
What about a salted cod?
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the salted cod, my sister-in-law showed me a technique is that you take a little piece of it, you roast it a little bit on the fire, and you throw it into the callaloo at the beginning, and it gives a nice flavor. You want to talk to Jay? Oh, Crystal want to join? My Crystal? Oh, I'll send it to her. Oh, tell her try
How's
back.
everyone's callaloo tasting? Is it?
Yes, so good.
So you added mushrooms, 2 different types of mushrooms.
I don't know if you can see. I'm gonna lift my pot up actually. You can see right into this pot. So you can see here, try to get the angle. I
Nice.
added, and you saw I had a tiny little blender. So I only blended half of it, just mainly the spinach. But yeah, so I added, let's see if I can get my spoon in here to show you guys. So there's a few chunks of like the cauliflower mushroom in here. Then I put some saffron strands in here, about I'd say 1.5 to 2 cups of chanterelles chopped up, and then a seaweed salt and then a truffle oil was my different additions to it, and it is absolutely delicious. Like it is so good. I wish you guys, and I need to probably blend that little chunk right there.
Yeah, blend it a little bit more.
I'll blend that chunk right here. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But somebody's gonna make me some white rice right now. Right now, hand it out my window. So blend some of that more and then put it back.
One of the dishes that I normally am skeptical about sharing because of the look and the texture. If people are not open to different cuisine, they'll be like, "Ooh, that looks like raw."
Yeah.
And that pisses me off when people
Me too.
speak about people's food like that. You know, it's, oh, no, thank you is always a good, healthy response. And the, ooh, it looks like whatever, save it. So that's why I was happy today to actually cook it with you all to see what the process is. And then you can taste it and understand why we like this dish so much and the process in making it, so that you appreciate it in a different way than if I were to bring some of this callaloo and drop it on you and you're like, you know?
Yeah.
So, and of course, one of the ways to share your culture is really through your foods. And that's what Trinidadians like to do. We are island people, we social, we'll feed you. We boast about our cuisine. That's the kind of people we are. If you come to Trinidad, somebody will adopt you. So that's who we are as people, and that's how we share who we are. Is one of the ways is through our food, and our culture and stuff like that. So, yeah. Anybody challenge with anything?
Carrie put in a list of local Caribbean markets in the chat.
Oh, nice.
Monica
Right,
says,
yeah.
"Thank you. I'm in the kitchen with my 15-year-old and we really enjoyed this fun experience and delicious food."
Wonderful.
Lorraine, someone asked about the type of seasonings that we use in the food. Do you want to share that type of spices?
I did earlier, Sharon, but if you have any additional, I said in most Trinidadian kitchen, there is onion, lots of garlic, cilantro or bandana as we call it, thyme,
pimento, if they can get that.
Oh, pimento. Pimento is a key thing that you don't get there. Those are pimento over there that hasn't.
Lots of seasoning, local seasoning, chives and onion.
Yeah, chive. Pimento is a key thing, and I forgot to put some pimento in this. It would have popped it a little more.
Oh.
Yeah. So the pimento that we speak about is a pepper. So it smells amazing. It smells hot, but it's not. It just adds flavor to it. It just adds lots of flavor. So you're going into my secret. This is what?
Hold on, Lorraine.
Okay. I forgot about pimento. I could have added some pimento.
Not too late.
So I bring, this comes from home. You can't get it here. You could get it in New York. A lot of the things that we cook with, you could actually get it easily in New York because there's so many Trinidadians and West Indians in New York. So it's easier to get it there. So if I don't go home, I normally beg my girlfriend from New York to send stuff for me. So yeah.
Dion said pimento as in pimento cheese, but sans cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is pimento cheese? I've heard about it. I've heard it. I don't know what it is.
That's what they put in celery for the holidays. The people of America put pimento cheese inside of celery sticks.
Is that what that is? It's
That's what that
pepper, I
is.
believe someone said.
Yeah, they have a little pepper in it. Little pimentos.
Is there anyone else that has it? That has a question that you feel free to unmute your camera and just join on in the conversation if you have a question or comment.
I just want to say thank you so much, both Elan and Lorraine. This was so much fun and educational.
It was.
And it's fantastic. So appreciate you both.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
No problem. Thanks for having us. Yes, this was fun.
It was lots of fun.
What are the names of the seasonings? Pimento?
So it's pimento peppers, Pimento peppers, and this is Maggi season up all-purpose powdered seasoning.
Foraging feels like social distancing activities for the long winter.
Yes, it does. I'll have to connect up with Elan.
Thank you.
That would be great.
We are going to be coming to a close. So if there's not any questions left, we're going to go ahead and call this thing. I want to special shout out to Lorraine and Elan. Elan came through for us at the last minute, and what a treat. You know, it works out how it's supposed to work out. We're so blessed to have Elan come on. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Y'all were amazing.
Yeah. It was fun.
All right. Well, one last time for questions before you all. So thank you for everyone. It's great. All right. Well, it was so wonderful cooking with everyone. Join us this afternoon. We're going to have a live panel discussion on sovereignty, food sovereignty. So you can keep your cameras on. We're going to be playing some of our videos that we've created in the last couple of years. Then this evening, we're going to do another cooking demo with Filipino chef Carlos Lomagna, and he is amazing. And we'll have Frida Davis speaking to him, hosting, and they'll be talking about appropriation in the food industry. So keep staying with us. And this is a fundraising event. Bring your friends. Go ahead and donate. Money is always welcome. Thank you so much in advance for everyone who donated already. Elan, you want something? You got to say something, babe? Go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you so much. And somebody asked somebody just asked what time was the panel tonight?
The panel is at 1:30. The panel is at 1:30, and then we start cooking with Carlo at 4.
And Jay, it's the same link, right?
It's the same link. So just come back in, and also you can just stay on however you choose to do it. All right. Thank you all. We're gonna close down this part. Thank you so much, Elan.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy your lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine and Elan.
Thank
you.